Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another Clubs and Courts Golf podcast. Luke Taylor here. My partner in crime, Ben Curtis, back again.
Yeah. Hello. I gotta do my wave, thumbs up, right?
I feel naked. I feel naked today beside me or behind
You're
me.
sweating again. Why are we sweating?
We had another Jason Day incident.
We had audio difficulties.
I think it happens to all people that reside in Columbus.
Yeah.
But I feel a little bit lonely, naked. You forgot Bernice.
I did. I forgot the Claire jug. I apologize to all our watchers on YouTube.
And me too.
But our listeners can't see it, so they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So
we've got a fine gentleman.
Yeah.
I've played some of the courses he's built. I don't know, redesigned. Aaron Hills.
Yeah.
Fantastic course.
Yeah.
Fantastic course. Devil's Pulpit. Yes.
You play there?
Come on now. Why does it take so long to play Devil's Pulpit? My brother-in-law wants to know.
Why did it take so long?
Oh yeah, it's the person that took us there. My bad.
Oh.
Bad golf, right?
So we've got a former caddy as a child, a Green Beret, a course designer, a golf collector of fine memorabilia and artifacts. Michael Hurdzan. Welcome to the Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome,
Pleasure
Mike.
to be with you.
I feel like our intros get longer and longer.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I just get excited. I get sweaty and excited. This is what Ben does to me.
Oh,
He makes me sweaty and excited.
Hey, Luke, did you get to play the paintbrush too?
No, I only got to play pulpit.
If you get a chance, go. It may take another 15 years or however long it took, but you need to play the paintbrush. The paintbrush is as close to an Irish lynx as you're going to find in North America.
Can I use
about 4 miles away from the pulpit? Same membership. It's a 36-hole club, 18 pulpit, 18 paintbrush, but you need to get up there.
Can I use your name?
You bet. You bet.
They'll probably laugh at me.
Double. They might cost you double, but they'll let you on.
Yeah, we got invited, or my brother-in-law got invited. I'm originally from Oakville. They saved Glen Abbey. Glen Abbey. Yep. Ben's favorite course.
Oh, they end up saving it.
Yeah, they saved it.
Nice.
Like tens of millions of dollars later, they saved it.
Yeah. That's what it takes. Money will buy things.
Money. Yeah, it's amazing. Usually the developer always wins. I hate to say that because you're on the phone with us right now, but the developer usually wins, right?
Generally. Yep.
Yeah, generally. So Aaron Hills, you asked why there. One of my favorite courses.
Well, obviously you're a player and you appreciate
he's a player.
Strategy. Oh, okay. Well,
I try to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to play it, and I'm glad you got to enjoy it. And Luke, that originally started out as to be a $50 public golf course. And when we saw the land, we saw how natural it was. And I say we, I'm talking about Ron Whitten, who was the Golf Digest editor, architectural editor for Golf Digest, and my former partner, Dana Fry. When we saw that land, we knew it was so natural. We could build a very inexpensive golf course there. Aaron Hills was to be the poor man's Whistling Straits. And but once it took on some life and people got to see it, and then the USGA got excited about it, and it went to another owner, now all of a sudden it sort of became an upscale public golf course, but it's one of the very few US Open golf courses where you can pay and play. So, along with Bethpage Black and Pebble Beach and maybe Torrey Pines, but those are among the few that were US Open golf courses that you can play to play.
They call it a poor man's Whistling Straits. Where's the lake? You obviously did a horrible job recreating the lake.
Yeah.
Well, it's got a hill though.
It's got lots of hills.
Got lots of hills. Yeah.
The amazing thing. Have you ever played Aaron Hills?
No, I haven't been there.
So it's amazing. It like goes hot and cold. Like when you're up top, it's like cool, and then you go. No, maybe it's the other way around. But it's amazing how the wind changes. Like every different hole.
Well,
the wind
dunes, right? The hills are probably blocking the wind for you. But yeah, I have to get up there. Definitely have to get up.
We got to start playing.
Well, I do that too. That might help. So Mike, I know we talked about Aaron Hills. Obviously, that's the peak of your profession as far as design. So how did you get into design? I know I've heard this story, but I think our listeners should hear it. It's pretty good.
Interesting. My dad started out as a caddy, became a good player, in the 30s and in the early 40s. Tried to play on the tour. There wasn't any money, couldn't support a family. Became a club pro, teaching pro, basically. Even that wasn't enough to sustain a family, and and worked in the factory in the winter, whatever jobs he could find. Well, as it turned out, the golf course where he was teaching was owned by a man named Jack Kidwell, who was also a very, very good player. This is in the west side of Columbus. The golf course was called Beacon Light. And so Jack and my dad became very good friends. And I started out really shagging balls from my dad on his lessons. And then I became a caddy. And then I became a greenkeeper at age 13 for Mr. Kidwell, who owned the golf course. Mr. Kidwell was getting into golf course design at that time. And so he would take me with him out onto the job sites. And I thought it was the most marvelous thing I'd ever seen, where you could take farm fields and woods and hay fields and turn them into golf courses. And I said, Mr. Kidwell, this is what I want to do with my life, if there's any way possible. And he goes, well, I'll teach you all I know, and hopefully you'll be able to do it. And that was 60 years ago or more. So here I still am.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've been doing it a very long time. You got a great list of courses and that. So, like, what was your first project that you did on your own? Maybe what you did with Mr. Kidwell and that before?
Well, with Mr. Kidwell, I had the ability, because I worked for him I started in 57 up till 66 for 9 years. So I got to see quite a few golf courses there. The first project I did on my own was in Vermont. I went to graduate school in the University of Vermont. And so I was involved with 2 golf courses there, one with Country Club of Barrie and the other one up by Newport. And it was a 9-hole additions to existing golf courses. Then when I got out of graduate school, I came back and started to work with Mr. Kidwell again. Jack and I became business partners. And then when Jack retired, I took over the business.
Nice.
Now I heard you were a pretty good player. Did you play at Ohio State?
I wish I would. I thought I was a good player. And in my freshman class was a guy named Tom Weiskopf,
Never heard of him.
Jim Brown, who became the coach and the director of golf. You had Ed Sneed. You may have heard of him as well. A couple grades up from me was a guy named Dave Daniels. Don Stickney, who actually beat Nicholas in the Ohio Amateur, was also playing golf at that time. So it took me about 2 months to figure out, Luke, that I was not a player, and there was no way in hell I could ever beat those guys.
It's a simple yes or no answer.
I had it jammed down my throat, let me say.
Yeah.
Well, it's a funny little trivia for you. I don't know if you knew this, but Jim Brown actually, after leaving Ohio State, he actually coached basketball and golf at Kent State University.
Oh, is that
So,
right?
Yeah, so he was actually Herb Page, my college coach. Herb Page, he was his college coach at Kent State, and then they, Jim got the Ohio State job, and then obviously the rest is history there. But yeah, and then they battled for 30, 40 years plus against each other. So
small world.
Yeah, small world for sure. So Green Beret. So was that after or before you came to Ohio State, or?
Well, that's interesting. When I went to Ohio State back in the early 60s, everybody that went to a land grant school like Ohio State, all the male students were required to take 2 years of reserve officer training, ROTC, ROTC, whatever you call it. And we willingly did it because it was a gut course. Easy to make a grade, and you had to wear a uniform and learn close order drill and all that sort of silly stuff. So 2 years you went just because you had to go there. The next 2 years, if you signed up for advanced ROTC, then you would become a commissioned officer in the Army or Air Force or Navy, whatever you chose. You would be paid, but you would have certain obligations beyond that. So when I signed up for advanced ROTC, I had a 3-year active duty commitment and a 4-year reserve commitment, but I got paid $102 every 3 months, basically $40 a quarter or a little less than that. But my tuition was only $92. So it was like having a paid tuition. And came from a working family. And so it was wonderful for me. Now, to answer your question about the Green Beret, when you were in ROTC, you didn't have a choice what branch you went into. You could put a request in, but the Army or the Navy or Air Force would decide where you went. So anyway, I got assigned to be a chemical corps officer, which I wanted to be an infantry officer. And about 1972, when I'm on active duty, President Nixon gets rid of the chemical corps. They allow us to go to any branch they want. I chose to go to infantry. I went to parachute school, and then I went to special forces. And then when I came out off active duty, I joined a reserve unit, and I stayed for 23 years.
Wow. So what was the highest elevation you jumped out of a plane with?
Well, normally the question is actually the lowest elevation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the highest elevation, well, we jumped out of a helicopter at 5,000, but the lowest normal parachute, yeah, normal
like jumping
parachute
off
elevation.
Jumping off your
You
bed.
make it sound like it's so like, oh,
Yeah,
whatever.
5,000, whatever. Yeah, I just jumped off 7,500 feet last night.
Yeah, so
Tuesday.
normal elevation is like 1,250 feet. And it gives you about 10 or 12 seconds in the air before you get ready to land. When we trained with the British troops, the SAS in Scotland and England, those guys jump at combat height, which is 350 feet. So there's no time to open a reserve. So you don't even jump with a reserve parachute. You just take it off and hand it over after they get over the channel. And then, so you have about 3 or 4 seconds in the air there. So again, it isn't the high ones. Those are the fun jumps. The low ones are the scary because if something goes wrong, there is no reaction time.
Wow. Next time when I'm standing over a 4-foot putt, I'm not going to shit myself.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Yeah.
So what is the highest you can go without a parachute jumping out of something where you don't like maybe break your legs or kill yourself or stuff like that? Like 10 feet, do you think?
Yeah, 10 feet is pushing it. It's
we should try it next time we're in Columbus.
Yeah. Well, we're watching the Olympics and we're seeing those girls and guys do these wonderful gymnastic sorts of things. But typically, you are taught what's called a parachute landing fall. And a parachute landing fall is where you learn to bend your knees, you take up some of the shock with your knees, then you land with your hips, and then you land with your back. And so there's like 5 points of contact to absorb the shock. But if you learn to do that, you could probably jump from 10 or 12 feet. And if you were really good, you might push it to 15 or 20. But typically 3 or 4, 5 feet, you're feeling it because parachute landing falls are not easy.
How the NBA guys do it then? LeBron James.
Yeah, but he's because their length, their arms are long.
I know.
So next time we're going to come down to Columbus and you're going to jump first and we'll see how you do and then we'll decide to go or not since you're an expert. Right?
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'm smart enough not to be first.
There you go. So when you're designing a course, do you have any players in mind or any type of style you're looking at?
Interesting. Well, it's a good question, Luke, and the
that's his first good
depends
question
on the
of the year.
You know what? Thank you. You know what? He doesn't compliment me much.
I just
so I
gave you a
appreciate it.
compliment.
And he was going to say that's the first out of 27 episodes. He said that's the first question I've asked.
Well, it is a good one. And it really depends on who you're working for. If you were working for someone like a guy that owned Erin Hills, then it's one time a golf course. Or we just finished a nice project for Westfield Country Club, which is owned by the Westfield Insurance Corporation in Westfield, Ohio. And it merely was designed really for, they played the Ohio Open there this year, but it was really designed for guests of the agents of Westfield. And then if we do a public golf course, we think about pace of play and guys that have 30 handicaps and that sort of thing. And then always, I mentioned to Ben that try to play once a week with my mom, who's 97, and still plays 3, 4 times a week. And so when we play with her, as we design a golf course, I think, could my mom enjoy this golf course? Because that's the reason she's lived so long, is that golf is so not only physically therapeutic, but it's socially, mentally. It gives you something to look forward to, get you
Yeah.
outside, you know. So we
Time,
want,
yeah, Mike, time out.
yeah.
Did you have her in mind when you were building Erin Hills, which is like 7,900 yards,
Oh yeah,
and
not
there's no
quite,
carts?
no quarts. But let me tell you, she went up for the U.S. Open, Luke, and she would walk 9 holes, and then she
Wow.
would find a
That's
place in the stands, and she would watch. And then the next day, she would walk the other 9 holes and find a place in the stands and watch the play.
Wow, that's
Good for
unbelievable.
her.
That's all. I mean, I'm hoping I'm still above ground, right? But let alone going to U.S. Opens and playing golf 4 days a week. That's awesome. So, like, did you go anywhere for Erin Hills? Let's go back there. But did you
Sure.
go to other properties to kind of get an idea? Like when you're doing a project like that, are you looking at everything you've done before? Are you going to maybe Bandon Dunes or Whistling Straits and places like that just to kind of give you ideas? And
Right. It's like Tom Doak. We had him on the episode, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th episode. He was saying he's walked more courses than he's played.
I would say that's absolutely true. And like you guys, I've had the ability to literally go golf courses all over the world. And so I find there's things that I like, and I try to, and they stay in your mind. For instance, I don't know if you remember the West Course at North Berwick as an example, just up the road from Muirfield. It's a quirky little course that's got, you have to play over stone walls, and it's got the Redan green and all that. So you remember those sorts of quirky things. And then I've been fortunate enough we did a couple projects in Australia. So I played quite a few golf courses in Australia, particularly in the sand country and down in the Mornington Peninsula. And you find things that greens complexes, as an example, that you go, wow, this is tremendous. I got to remember this so I can try to do this other places. So you steal ideas.
so, who do you look up to? I know didn't you work for Pete Dye, correct?
No, I didn't.
No.
You're getting me confused with Tom.
Okay.
Good job, Ed.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry, Mike.
I don't know, problem.
You worked for Alistair McKenzie, didn't you?
Yeah. Old Tom Morris.
Yeah, old Tom Morris. Yeah. So who do you like look up to? Who's like, hey, this guy was, or
Mhm.
this lady was like cream of the crop? Like who?
Well, that's Ben got a good question there, Luke.
Yeah, it took him
Hey,
5 minutes to freaking
1 to
construct
1.
it.
Yeah.
It's 1 to 1.
Well, I had to mess up a few times to get the question in there, but
Well, there's no question that Pete Dye, Pete and Alice were a couple of my very favorite people. And Pete was one of the most creative and bold guys in the design field. And we've never quite had the ability to push the envelope as much as him, but you admired what he did, and he gave us freedom. What he did gave us freedom to do other things. But if you go really back to the roots of the thing, guy named H.S. Colt, Harry Colt,
Mhm.
who was a lawyer, show you how smart Colt was. He hired Mackenzie to work for him when Mackenzie was still a physician. And then he hired another guy named Hugh Allison, who designed the golf course where they're playing the Olympics now at Kasumi Gaseki. And so H.S. Colt would definitely be one of those old guys that I'd love to spend some time with.
gotcha.
Look at all the blueprints behind him.
Yeah, rolled up.
You
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah.
What's all back there?
Well, there's the revision to Scioto Country Club. There's some
Right,
which we're not
revision of
doing.
Scioto. Revision.
Did they close down yet?
Yeah, they closed, and they're in the process of remodeling. Andrew Green, the guy who redid Inverness, is redoing that golf course. And they didn't like what Jack and I did there. So Jack Nicholas and I did there. So,
Never heard that name before.
Yeah.
so and then there's a lot of, there's a whole bunch of greens drawings and,
Yeah.
just I'm back to my roots. I love trying to be creative and drawing things. And so even in the remodeling, which are a little more of a challenge, I still enjoy that a lot.
Is there a process, like, when you're building construction, like your father-in-law or what have you, or a friend of mine, you put bids in. So let's say Mike Kaiser is probably not a good instance because he just keeps building golf courses. So let's say him and I want to build a golf course. How do we figure out who to choose?
Oh, well,
And where to get 10 million.
Yeah, where to get to? Well, you're big time. Just start playing again.
Yeah.
Well, it is definitely buyer beware, because there is more BS in this industry. Everybody has figured out the good things to say, naturalness, lay of the land, easy to care, easy. They say all those things, and then you go look at the work afterwards, and you're thinking, they forgot that message. So to answer your question directly, I think just go to a golf course that either you like or one of their golf courses, and try to say, well, why did you do this? What would you have done differently? How could you try to understand? Because you're going to trust that person, a man or woman, whomever you hire, to spend millions and millions of your dollars, and you have only have known them for an hour or two. That's pretty amazing to me. So don't go by reputation. Don't go by the flavor of the month kind of designer. Just talk to the guy and have a pretty firm idea of a business plan, like a budget. Because the first thing we ask, Luke, is when we start one of these, is why are you building this golf course? Are you building it to sell memberships? You're building it to sell house lots? Are you trying to sell room nights, green fees? Or are you like Mike Kaiser? You're just very rich and you're just building because you can build. And then once we ask that question and we know why we want to build a golf course, the next question we ask is, how much are you going to spend for maintenance? And most people are taken back by that. But when you think about it, you can maintain a golf course for as little as $350,000 a year to as much as $3 million a year. And what what gets built, you got to take care of. And so we want to know how much, because the kind of golf course you're only going to spend 3 or 4 or 500,000 a year to maintain is a very different golf course than one that where you've got $1 million or $2 million in maintenance to spend a year.
So like a course like, St. George's that we saw a couple weeks ago, like, is that less maintenance? And then something like, I don't know, Murfield Village or a place like that, or a place like Calusa Pines down in Florida being different
Sure.
weather. I mean, how does that really affect it?
Well, I would say that Calusa Pines and Muirfield Village are probably about on par with the amount. And I'm guessing,
Okay.
I don't know their budget, but
Right.
let's say it's $2 million a year, or $1.5 million to $2 million a year. A place like St. George's is probably more like 500,000 a year, or perhaps even less.
They have no lawnmowers, or
Well, no,
Yeah.
but it's the turf and the
see.
seaside, right? Like it's the type of grass they use.
like they don't
It's-
water, do they?
No, they don't water. as
Do they
much.
cut?
They
Not as
cut
mu-
it,
not
but
as much, though.
there's a lot of areas they leave alone too.
Yeah.
So
Fescues,
that's good.
natural areas.
And it's the golfing public. You know what forces, if you left it up to a golf course superintendent to maintain the golf course, it would look far different than when you let members drive the fact, or daily fee players drive the fact, oh, if you got brown grass, it's bad.
Right.
And so it's the golfer's perception that causes the budgets to be what they are. We played a little course. I mentioned my mom earlier. It's called London Country Club. My son, Chris, who's my business partner, worked in this business for 25 years. Chris and I love to play London Country Club. It's a little 9-hole country course in London, Ohio. The green superintendent is a fireman and full time, and then on his days off, he comes and gives direction to the 3 guys that take care of it. They're probably maintaining it for 150,000 or less, but it doesn't matter. You tee it up with your buddies or your friends or your family, and you have fun.
I keep telling Melissa brown grass is good.
Yeah. Well, it's the best to play on as a tour. I mean,
Really?
that's why I love links golf, right? And Aaron Hills would probably be very similar, and places
Very-
like Bandon and that, where it's just that turf and that it's. I don't know. I love it. It's just.
And
it's
you just brought up a good point, buddy, is that Aaron Hills, when Luke played it, used to be more brown grass,
right.
but the playing public has driven it so much towards the green side that they're converting the golf course to bent. When Luke
Oh,
played,
really?
yeah,
Ugh.
when Luke played it, it was fine fescue grasses
Yeah.
that you might find in your yard. Now it's going to bent grass.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That sucks.
Well, it's a business, and the guy that owns it's a businessman, and that's what
Second
people
course?
want. That's what he's
Second
doing.
course? Second course?
Well,
Is
I
it
don't
behind
think
you in one of
so.
those drawings? Second
I wish
course?
I got drawings for him, but I don't think it's going to get built.
What I think that's the biggest thing. I just had a friend that went there. I mean, when you go on a golf trip, you can only play one course so many times.
Yes.
And it's in the middle, pretty much everywhere in Wisconsin. They have golf courses in the middle of nowhere, whether it's Sand Valley, Erin Hills, even Whistling Straits is an hour north in Sheboygan. Great Italian restaurant in Sheboygan, I might add. But do you think that hurts or helps them? Obviously, they're busy at Erin Hills, but is it something like they've got the space to build a second course?
I have drawings for it. We have routings for it. It is a matter of economics because, yes, they're making it in the season that they have now, but and in reality, the very best probably economics in golf is a 27-hole golf course because you only need one superintendent, one pro, one club. As soon as you go to 36 holes, now your crew has to get bigger. You need a couple assistant superintendents. It's a lot more liability if the weather turns bad or we have a COVID thing. So when you get up to where Mike Kaiser is at Sand Valley with what's going on 4 golf courses pretty soon, you're going to have, now you got an economy of scale. But like you say, Sand Valley's in the middle of nowhere. But Lawsonia Links, I don't know if you went up there or not, Luke, but it's about an hour north of Erin Hills as well, built in the 20s, probably the second or third best golf course in the state of Wisconsin, and very marginally maintained, but it's just a wonderful golf experience.
So, Mike, I want you to brag a little bit here because, I won 1 major. You're a Grand Slam winner. Can you, in your profession, right? So,
God,
what?
nothing.
It is. It's true.
No, I know. I
It's
just
true.
feel like it's you, him, and then nothing
Well,
about. Yeah. That's fine. That's cool.
You keep selling
Yeah.
wine.
We'll give you
selling wine.
we'll give you some airtime, Luke.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I've got enough.
Tell us, our listeners a little bit more about
Sure.
that because I didn't really know about it until a couple months ago when we started talking.
Well, there are 3 major awards in the professional side, industry, golf industry side for the superintendents, for the builders, and the designers. So the superintendent's major award is the Old Tom Morris Award, and that's given once a year to someone who's made a significant contribution to the game of golf, in the opinion of the Golf Course Superintendents Association. Similarly, there is an award called the Don Rossi Award that's given by the Golf Course Builders Association of America. And then the Golf Course Architects have an award called the Donald Ross Award, which again, same thing, given once a year to someone who they believe has contributed a great deal. The winners of all 3 of those, of which I'm very, very honored to say I'm one, were Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Byron Nelson, Robert Trent Jones Sr., Pete Dye, and Reese Jones. So
It's a very
the
small
six
group.
or seven of us are in pretty elite company
Name dropping.
with each other.
Is that Mickey Mouse back there? Is that what you get when you win all three?
That's when you win the Luke Taylor Award.
yeah.
Hey, now. Did you have to buy the trophy?
No, unlike when Ben had to do, they
Yeah.
gave us the trophy.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I saw the old Tom Morris one in here. Isn't that on the coffee table, or is that the
Yes,
Tom?
it is,
Yeah.
Hmm.
That
What-
thing's huge. I mean,
Is
it,
it?
it looked like it was like 80 pounds. I mean,
Yeah.
So did they have separate awards, like ceremonies for those?
Yeah, that again, it's a big deal. This year, as an example, the golf course architects are honoring Ben Crenshaw and or not Gil Hance, but Bill Core.
Yeah.
So they will receive the award. I think Renee Powell, another wonderful
yeah.
Ohio golf contributor, had recently received the Donald Ross Award last year for the
Yeah.
work that for what she and Larry and William Powell and their mom had done. So the Powell family had received that. So they're given annually. Generally, it's a big ceremony. I know when I got the old Tom Morris, it was 5,000 or 6,000 people I gave my talk to.
Wow.
So it was quite a big deal.
Was like Nicholas there, and was Palmer alive then?
They were alive. They
Okay.
weren't there, but they were actually very congratulatory. I save all those little notes and things that
Nice.
we get. I'm very happy to say that because of my profession, I was able to interface with gentlemen like that, that otherwise I would, just as a golfer, I would never have the opportunity, just as you guys have done, been able to call somebody up and have them be able to take your call.
Not him. I mean, he's big time. I'm little time. I think I won the Ron Ross Award for artistic most improved. Is it Ron? Who's the guy? The Bob Ross. Bob Ross. Ron
yeah,
Ross.
Bob Ross.
Rick Ross too.
Rick.
Every day I'm hustling.
So, what got you into your collection?
I was going to ask that question. I was
Oh,
going to
I
ask
beat
him.
you.
I was going to ask him what is the first piece he ever purchased.
Well,
But
okay.
same
So,
thing.
what got you into it, and what was your first piece?
Those are both good questions.
One,
Still remains a
Let's
tie.
fist bump that.
And
one and a half. 1.5 to 1.5.
Well, what got me into this is Christmas Day, 1968. I received 2 golf books on golf course architecture, were written in the 20s. Had no concept that anything like that existed. And a girlfriend that I had at the time did a lot of research and found these books on golf architecture. And it was the most wonderful thing because it took me back in time to inside the heads of 2 guys that were wonderful designers, Robert Hunter, who was a major player in Pebble Beach, and then also George Thomas, who did Riviera as an example. And so those 2 books were given to me, but that really started it. The first books after that, I started looking, and the first things I bought, Luke, were books. Whenever I could find old antique golf books, that's how I started. And so now we have like 6,700 golf books, probably thousands of golf magazines. We have clubs and balls and trophies and all kinds of stuff. And because once you start golf collecting, it's kind of addictive. And even the smallest thing means a lot. Like all those things are on your wall behind you. All of those are important collectibles in my mind.
So, do you have that Aaron Hills?
I do.
Sign? You do.
Do you have the Jordan Spieth minus the golf club AT&T bobblehead?
I do. Matter of fact, the AT&T one.
Does it have a golf club with it? Because I got jacked. Bought it on eBay. No damn golf club, swinging air.
I'm actually looking at a Donald Trump with a golf club bobblehead.
That would be pretty cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
but
pretty
now you have people sending you stuff, correct? Or they?
Well, they want
should
to
send
sell
them
it
something.
first,
Like,
you
we'll
know.
send, we'll send them the
No. We'll send you something.
that
So,
Pinehurst flag. You haven't
Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
put that up.
Yeah.
I got to put that beside me. How much stuff do you have now? I mean, I've heard you've got somewhat of a museum.
well, it's this. Our company used to be quite large before the recession, and so we had 12 people working, and it's a 5,000 square foot office. Half of it we used for work, the other half we used for play and storage and all that. So now I have a 5,000 square foot building for Chris and me to work in, and also to put golf collectibles in. So to answer your question, we have this building is chock full, as Ben can attest.
Yeah.
And I have a lot at home. I probably have, another 30% at home, plus what we have in storage. So
Wow.
it's reportedly one of the largest in the world. And I don't know anybody that's silly enough to try to have more stuff than me that isn't in the business of just selling it, like one of those stores down in Pinehurst.
Yeah. So how much longer are you going to do this? And what's like your son Chris is, helping you, and Bart, like what I guess my question would be like, are you guys similar, or is he in design and style, or is he a little different? And
Well,
maybe explain that.
Chris is very, very computer literate, about like Luke is getting this thing going.
Yeah, I was going to say we should have called Chris in.
Yeah, we probably could have called.
You know,
That's what I would have done.
You know what happens? I do all the work. I'm the donkey. I'm the stupid enough donkey. He shows up. All he's got to do is bring the damn claret jug in himself.
Got it.
Yeah. And I don't know this whole Zoom crap. No, so neither is he. He's like two idiots.
Well, you're learning.
Together.
You figured it out.
Yeah. We don't know what happened. And all of a sudden it worked.
Yeah. Well, you just make sure you bless it before you turn it off.
There
But
we
go the
I like
maybe
that.
that's our problem.
Yeah.
We're throwing
Chris-
things at it.
So Chris is bringing me into the 21st century with all the computer things and Twitter and all of that. And he runs our websites, and he also is a very, very good. He's a very good designer. And when you get people, if the four of us got together, with Ben, Luke, Mike, and Chris got together and went out and we're talking about a bunker as an example, we would probably have 5 different opinions on how that bunker ought to be built. And Chris and I go through this give and take. And then ultimately, because I got more gray hair, he lets me have my way generally. But if his ideas are good, I say, you know what, Chris, you're absolutely right. I didn't see it that way. So he's becoming a very, very efficient designer in his own right. And again, Westfield was a very, very good project where Chris really took the lead pretty much there. And I offered suggestions as much as I could.
Did he redesign both courses?
Yes. And well, we did them jointly. Yes, we did both the south and the north. You guys got to get down there. You'll
So
enjoy
it's
it.
it's funny you mentioned that. I've been invited by John Bernanovich,
Oh yeah.
a former teammate of yours,
Yeah.
and
Well,
listener.
I didn't.
Okay, well, whatever. Just
Well,
work
he
with it.
went to Kansas State.
He's taking me to play 9 holes on the north.
Nice.
I said 9 holes. Is that a warm up?
Yeah.
So we're doing 9 holes. But I'll have to play I might try to stay around because our old I'm a member at Fairlawn. Our old assistant golf pro is a head golf pro there. So I might hopefully John doesn't invite me for lunch. And I can just be like, oh, John got to go, and then just wait till he leaves. And then
Go out and play
Yeah,
the other-
everybody raves about Westfield.
Well, the only thing I didn't like is you remember the telescope they had?
No.
But remember the one hole where you had the stupid telescope?
Yes.
And to go up on the hill? I mean, come on. Seriously?
Come on,
Yeah,
It's
they had a
gone.
telescope. Was that on the south or the north?
south.
They
That was
seriously
south.
had a telescope. It was a blind shot. And then did you have to drive up to see the telescope and then drive back? Or was it a par 3? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was a par 4 that it was the
Seriously.
green was at the bottom of this big hill, and it wasn't very safe, and it wasn't a very good golf hole. And so we moved the
Ring the
green
bell.
up into the hill on the other side of the creek.
Did they have a bell? I can't remember.
What's that?
Did they have a bell?
I think they did. Yes, they did have a bell. Matter of fact,
Non-working bell.
yeah. Yes, they did, and I'm not sure it was on that hole, but I do remember a bell.
So, of all the courses you've done, I know you don't want to. You want to be politically correct. Don't want to piss anybody off.
No one listens to this.
But what is your favorite project?
Oh, the one that I told Luke that he's got to go play, the paintbrush. The Devil's Paintbrush is a very,
That's
very
Canada.
deep golf. If you like links golf, Ben, you're going to love that place.
Okay,
Yeah.
It is.
Get a passport.
I do, but you can't get up there. Yeah.
August 9th.
Well, that's true.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I heard
That's
they
what they're
might-
saying. August 9th. I
uh,
haven't been home since October of 2019.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, I heard a rumor it might go to the 29th. I don't know.
I'll find you.
Well,
I'm coming down to Columbus in a couple weeks.
but you've got to come visit them.
Yeah.
You might.
You should see his parking lot. He's got. I didn't know where to park because I felt like I was disrupting. He's got like U.S. Open champ and head of the USGA. What I mean, tell us. I mean, it's hilarious.
Well, any Hooters girl.
Yeah.
I'll be parking there.
Yeah, we anybody that pays their bill, any paying customer, we save the spot for them right by the door. Jack Kidwell or the Pope, either whichever of those get there earliest. Tiger Woods got a Tiger Woods spot.
Okay.
I got
Is that
an
the handy? Is that the handicap spot? The Tiger Woods spot?
It should be now.
So, has anybody ever just knocked on the door, like a tour pro or a famous person that says, "I've heard about this. I want to see what you have here"? Have
Well,
anybody stopped by?
We're innocuous enough here that I can't think of anybody but I've invited people that have come. Jack Nicklaus is an example. I mentioned that story about having Jack and Barbara finally show up.
Yeah.
And after I invited them several times. And they were only going to stay for an hour and end up staying for about 3.5.
3.5 weeks.
Then on the way out, Jack said, "Your museum's a hell of a lot better than mine." So
Did he take anything from it? Kind of
Uh,
like when OJ went and took his memorabilia back.
not many people remember that.
Yeah, I do.
I
I'm a
do.
Bills fan.
Yeah.
What is
No,
your favorite piece? What is if you said you had one piece?
Yes.
In essence, here's a perfect example. So we had a really bad house fire about 7.5 years ago. No, 8.5 years ago. And they take you out of the house, and they said to my wife, she was 7.5 months pregnant and with her second child. And they said, you get a basket and put all your most important things you want there. So I got my white leather Bob Jones dress shoes from Kansas City. And Melissa's like, "You're effing kidding me." And the firefighter just nodded his head like, "Yeah." So what would be if your place was burned down, which it's not going to, I'm not going to let it happen because I've been through it. Knock on wood. What is the one piece you would take?
Well, I have a framed map of the old course at St. Andrews that Alistair McKenzie had paid for to have the old course surveyed. Now that map had been reprinted a lot of times. That map is, a $20 map, but it's signed to my friend A.W. Tillinghast from A. McKenzie. So I have a copy of a drawing of the old course at St. Andrews that McKenzie gave to Tillinghast. That's first thing out the door.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's awesome.
You wouldn't save your son, you'd save that.
Well, Mickey Mouse before the sun.
Oh yeah,
That's my trophy. So
well, Michael.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was fun. I think we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
And we
we,
wouldn't get bored.
yeah,
But
we're going to keep them on for a second.
yeah. So don't go anywhere after we close. But
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. And we call this thing the back nine, just quick questions. You'll spit them out real quick and you'll be on your way. But thanks for coming. It was a lot of fun and great catching up again.
Thank you guys, and you're always welcome. You know that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.